How's it going, traders? Richard K from Price Action Income. Welcome to this week's live session. Guys, I'll only have 30 minutes time today. I really need to attend to some classes I need to take my kids to, extramural activities. They're on a little bit of a holiday in South Africa at the moment, so I only have 30 minutes today. As always, guys, if you have any questions, please let us know. They're in the chat. We have Nathan manning the chat box. He will relay those back to me. Any markets you want me to have a look at, then I'll be more than happy to do that for you. As usual, I'm just going to go over some of the major markets that I'm following, that will continuously follow during the course of these live sessions, including the dollar index. We're going to have a quick look at gold. Also, the US dollar Swiss franc trade idea that I mentioned during my last session, I think it was 2 sessions ago actually, that might have set up already or potentially going to give us another setup. And then we also had a question from a person named Julian. He actually attended our live training class yesterday. He sent some images on the, what was it, Nathan? The NZDCAD, I think it was. Yep, on the NZDCAD. So I pulled up the NZDCAD as well. So I'll have a quick look at that for you as well, Julian, if you're in the room. And also just quickly talk about these indicators that we're using here at Price Action Income. We use with our members. They are free to use, not indicators that we actually developed ourselves. So just that you know that we didn't personally program them. I'll quickly give you an overview of them. There are also links that Nathan will drop in the chat box, where you can have access to these 2 indicators, and I'll just give you a quick overview of how we use them. I'll just do that on a dollar index as well, just for the conditions that we need to see before we enter into a trade. And yeah, that will probably be the schedule for today. But before I get going here, guys, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. We're trying to have these live sessions every week on a Wednesday. And as always, anything I'm showing you does not, it's not any investment advice at all, but just reflects my own views and opinions. Right, guys, for all those of you that trade Forex or interested in trading the metals like gold, etc., the dollar index, symbol DXY in TradeStation, sorry. In TradingView is a very good indication to know whether there is going to obviously be strength in any dollar related cross pairs on the currency side of things, or if gold, for example, dollar index, for example, is strong, then gold generally goes down. So there's a bit of a correlation there as well. So just to keep you a little bit updated of where price action currently stands on the dollar index, I still view that we're seeing some sort of an expanding leading diagonal that I believe is very close to coming to an end. That being said, for everyone that's new over here, I'm still viewing this strong bounce in the dollar index as corrective, and potentially to end towards the end of this year before we get another move to the downside. So I do not see this current move to the upside as a start of a new long-term trend to the upside. I do think that this is all corrective. Now, previously we talked about the potential of an ABC or an ABCWX, potentially an extended ABC. I'm still sticking with that view. Previously, price, when we first started covering the dollar index during the sessions, reacted from a 100% extension from this low that started in January to this higher high that ended in March this year. So we had a little hit there and price moved lower. At that stage, we also had a shift pitchfork on the chart, and price also hit that shift pitchfork. Let me just change it to a shift pitchfork for you guys. You see it hit it over there and moved lower in conjunction with hitting the 100% fib extension from this move to the upside projected from this low in May this year. Price did not move much lower, or it did drop quite fast, and has subsequently moved to the upside again, forcing me to change my pitchfork to the original pitchfork, or the Alan Andrews pitchfork, as they call it. So I'm currently looking at a zone for potential resistance if price does get there That lies around about the 94.20, 94.30 give or take, 95.30, 95.30 give or take, and the 94.86 sort of level. If price hits this centi-median line, I do expect a drop low that could probably go on for a couple of weeks before we get another move higher into this here to complete this entire pattern, and then we see a move to the downside. Obviously things might change, that's just my own view, but again, I do like following what the dollar index is doing, especially want to be looking at trades like the Euro US dollar, or markets like Euro US dollar, pound US dollar, US dollar Swiss, which we're going to show you soon, US dollar Japanese yen, you know, all the dollar cross pair sort of markets, as well as gold. All right, before we look at the other markets, during yesterday's live training session, we mentioned that we do follow indicators, and we use these indicators to confirm to get into trades or not. Now, these indicators, like I mentioned, will be dropped there in the chat box, and they're available on TradingView for free, so they're open source as they are called. So you click on those indicators, you can read up a little bit more about them and what it is they do. But guys, I don't know if this is really available on any other platform, to be dead honest with you. It's just that I really like using these indicators because they give such really good confirmation signals when price might be getting ready to reverse. Now, first up we have is called the Cyclical RSI. Now, this is not your standard run-of-the-mill relative strength index. If you do compare, which I don't really have time today, and just pull up a normal RSI and compare this with the Cyclical RSI, then you'll see that the black line, which is the RSI line, is very similar to your Cyclical RSI. But what is different here is these adaptive bands, what we call. This red one I colored in red because quite often when price extends above this upper band, and obviously in an overbought situation, you to an extremely high degree get reversals. And some on the downside, these are not Bollinger Bands, but you know, they contract and expand as price obviously moves, and this is what makes it different than the normal standard RSI. When price leaves these bands and they go back into the bands, you quite often get very strong moves in an opposite direction. So I like using this indicator. What is something I really like to follow is momentum divergence. And momentum divergence simply states that when price moves in one direction, for example, you start seeing an oscillator like the RSI move into a different direction, i.e. there's divergence of what price is doing, so losing momentum. So just a quick example, price moving lower over here, but on the Cyclical RSI, price went into an oversold area, and into that low we have momentum divergence, a very strong indication of momentum divergence. It's typically what we want to look for. We also, with our members in the EPS newsletter, use the different time frames and go low, like on a 4-hour chart, to also see if we can spot those conditions over there. So guys, again, I can't really go much too in depth detail with the Cyclical RSI, but they are open source indicators. They can be used for anyone that's interested in applying these indicators. So again, we did not develop these indicators at all, but they're just very cool indicators to follow. I can't show you the time segmented volume. I will show you that on a different chart soon, because this is an index. The TSV does not work on that. All right, so I'm expecting, just to conclude what's happening in the dollar index, that we probably make another move to the upside. We might already start seeing momentum divergence over here between this peak, and if we do break that peak, a momentum divergence on the Cyclical RSI, which means we could, to a very high degree, see a move to the downside. Guys, just pull this up on your charts if you're interested in this indicator, and you'll just visually quickly see what happens when this indicator exits the lower order top bands. In a very high degree you get reversals. Now, obviously these reversals become more noticeable, or should we say more important, when they're actually at areas of market geometry, which is why we use them as an entry confirmation signal. All right, let's quickly have a look at the US dollar Swiss franc, for example. Here we have the TSV that works on the US dollar Swiss franc, and here we want to spot a condition which is called volume divergence. Here's also a really cool example. We previously looked at price moving down into a low, for example, and where on the cyclical RSI we also have momentum divergence, i.e. moving opposite to what price is doing. Very strong signal. But now we also have the time segmented volume, which is a volume indicator that compares the current price bar with a certain look back range. And I won't go into much detail here, but all I can really tell you is that there is also such a thing as volume divergence, i.e. volume starts, increasing, for example, around about here. And as price moves into a low, we have divergences in the volume as well into a low, which is typically what we want to see either on a 4-hour chart or a low chart time frame, depending on the time frame we're looking at. So these are sort of the conditions you want to see at the area of market geometry that do appear before we take a trade. Now, during one of our previous sessions, I mentioned the potential for US dollar Swiss franc to have a reversal within a near 0.9350 to 0.9390 area. We did get that in reversal from that area that I gave you guys in one of our previous sessions. We had extremely slight, and this is on the daily now, momentum divergence on the cyclical RSI. Not very noticeable, but on the time segmented volume, we did not, between these two peaks, have volume divergence. So this is one reason why we didn't take a trade here yet. My idea is that if price makes another move into an high over here, we potentially have 3 drives into an high, back into the same sort of zone, and if we still have then clear momentum divergence on our cyclical RSI, and also momentum divergence on, by the time if price does get here, we'll probably start seeing this histogram moving up a little bit, and if we start seeing volume divergence as well, that would be the typical signal that we are looking for to execute a position. If we don't get those signals, then I stay out of the market. There's just a very high probability of getting very nice strong trend reversals, or the end of corrections when you see similar situations like we've had here on both of these indicators. So that is my opinion. US dollar Swiss franc, I think we can still head lower. I'm just hoping for another touch into this area. If price overshoots this area, then I'm not going to trade it. But if it does get in that area, we see a little reaction to the downside, and we have all the entry conditions ready, then I would say a short on US dollar Swiss franc is probably something that we need to have a look at. Guys, then a lot of you previously asked me about Bitcoin, and this is something I want to touch on just quickly. If you do want to have a look at the 22nd of September's live session that I had, I introduced you to the cycles and the cycle analysis that I'm going to start incorporating in a private newsletter that we're going to release soon. And I gave you these areas that the cycle starts showing down. This one showed down, up, down. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please go back and look at that live session. It's the one that we did on the 22nd of September. And you can see how price, or how these cycles and these turning points, before price reached it, guys, I had these arrows on my chart, and I've showed it during that session when I've done analysis on this runabout. I think it was here. So this was done ahead of time, and it gave really cool signals, especially this one where this ABC that I believed happened, and it's definitely an ABC now because price already broke above this high over here. On the 22nd of September, price was at this level here, and I gave you another time zone where I believe we're going to see a strong move to the upside. Price moved exactly into the zone, and whoops, there it went. So just a really cool analysis technique using cycle analysis, and just we'll continuously track this during this sessions if this is something that you're interested in. And it just shows you how powerful that predictive nature prior to the product actually happening, having a move to the upside. It actually caught this bottom perfectly here, or it was going to say that a new upcycle started. It was probably going to start, and it did perfectly do so. Again, these zones were drawn on this chart around about here in August, way before all of this happened. But one thing, trying to trade cycles, you're probably going to see that you're going to lose a lot of money if you just simply buy or sell within those areas, which is why we accompany or use market geometry as well, together with cycle analysis, to show us, where price might find support resistance, and then also combine that with our cyclical RSI and our time segmented volume indicators to figure out if we're going to get a move to the upside or reversal or not. So very important that you definitely have a confirmation technique using whatever your analysis technique might be with cycle analysis. I might just for next week's live session just give you another date here where I believe we might get a reversal and see how that plans out. But anyway, very cool to see. And then guys, sorry, I'm just listening to Nathan. I think there's a technical issue today. I have him on my other screen. I've got 3 screens going, yeah. I think there's an issue with today's stream. Damn, okay. If that is the problem, you're obviously not listening to me in real time, but the recording will be available afterwards. Sorry guys, don't know what's going on there. We'll have to post this as a recording. All right, just quickly, I'm just going to keep going. We had Julian ask me to have a look at the NZDCAD. Julian did send me a chart worth his pitchforks that he's drawn. Now, very quickly, Julian, if you're watching this recording, because obviously something's wrong with the live recording, you can send in some more questions if you would like afterwards. But please reach out to support at Price Action Income to answer these questions. Okay. I just want to go back to a weekly time frame and just show you what I've got on the NZDCAD for the longest period of time. And I like performing my long-term Elliott wave market geometry analysis for a simple reason that for the longest period of time going into the future, these lines or median lines will continuously act as support and resistance. Now, if we take the 3 most prominent swings prior to this move that ended in Feb this year, then you can see that this pitchfork has contained price really well. Price reached this upper median line, came down. It has recently, since June, started bumping against or finding support against this lower median line over here. Price moved up, failed to make or reach the center median line, and has broken to the downside. Now, if we get a weekly close below this lower median line here, I would see that as continuous weakness. We might get another bounce to the upside, but I think this is probably a good likelihood that we'll see a break of these lows. That was set, and this is now on a weekly time frame on the 14th of June, or during that week of about mid-June 2021 this year. So it'll be very important to see how price closes, if it manages to close below this lower median line over there. Let me just have a look at something else. There's something else I wanted to mention here. So that's on a weekly view. If we drill down to a daily, sorry, there was something I want to show you, Julian, on the weekly. Quite often there's ways to also test if the angle or the setting you're using on the pitchfork is the right one or the one you should be using. You can run an array and run it parallel with one of the median lines and then project it to previous lows within the confines of this pitchfork, and you'll see, although obviously this was after the fact, there was some support here. We had resistance, a little bit of overshoot, but you move that line to that low over there, we had that highs over there. Obviously you wouldn't know for sure how to trade this, but what it does do if you use this technique is that it shows you that this pitchfork setting is working extremely well. We can go to these highs, price fell to close above it, although it did actually reach the upper median line. Picture perfect resistance or end of a move at an upper median line for a market that's been moving up since 2020. Prices now move lower, and like I said, apart from just finding previous support and resistance areas, or if price approaches one of these areas, if it does break these areas, especially on the weekly, like what might be happening right now, price breaks this level and stays below it, then I would say that is a really good sign that we might see continuous weakness on the NZDCAD. Right, guys, there's no one live in this session now, as we just found out, so we really do apologize for that. There must be some glitch with the recording software or the streaming or whatever might be the case. So that's a bit frustrating. We do apologize from Price Action Income from our side, but hopefully you guys get this link quick enough after the recording so that you can go review these markets, especially those guys that joined yesterday's live training session, where you can just have a good insight as to what's happening or how these indicators work and where to find them on TradingView. And again, guys, really do apologize, but I think we'll just call it there. We've gone on for about 25 minutes right now, and obviously I can't deal with any questions because of this glitch that we're having. So yeah, I'll end the recording here. Guys, you're more than welcome to send in any questions you might have. Nathan will then reach out to me if he can't answer those questions, and as well drop you those links for these indicators if you would like to start delving deeper into them and use them in your own trading. Alright guys, so sorry again, that's a bit frustrating, a bit of a bummer, but these things do happen sometimes, a bit out of our control. So if you do watch this recording, I hope you did enjoy it. Please subscribe if you haven't done so before to our channel, and then we'll be back next week with another live session, and hopefully we don't have these issues again. Alright guys, until next time, have a good one and a fantastic weekend. Until next time.